Alright, well, now I'm done with my energy, I should probably get back to making Warframe videos. I mean, how long has it been? Oh, 10 months? Oh my goodness, I am sorry. Well, where should I start? I guess I'll start here. I mean, I've been meaning to go back and talk about him anyway, and I'm not exactly proud of the original video I did for him, so yeah. Yeah, let's start here. Base stats on a maxed Umbra are 370 health, 370 shields, 315 armor, 225 energy, and 1 sprint speed. Umbra's passive is he actually fights alongside you when you're in your operator, as well as he attacks 10% faster and deals 10% more damage while wielding swords. He does have a passive augment, that being Warrior's Rest, that being he no longer fights alongside you, but you do get 15% ability strength. If I'm being honest, I don't get why you'd ever use this, because that's not really enough ability strength to warrant getting rid of the most unique thing he has, especially when it's also something you'd have to squeeze into your build. I mean, yeah, it can go in the Exilus slot, but I'd rather just run the Drift mod at that point and keep him fighting alongside me. His first ability is Slash Dash, which, well, it's kind of self-explanatory actually. You push the button, and he lunges at the enemy and slashes them where applicable. And he will automatically chain as long as their enemy is within his chain range. He does have a first ability augment. In fact, he actually has 2. The first one will be Surging Dash, and what that is every enemy that you hit with your Slash Dash increases your melee combo counter by 8. That is actually affected by mods. Strength impacts that, specifically. His other first ability augment is Purging Slash, and that is allies in the path of Slash Dash have 4 debuffs removed and 70% shields restored. The debuffs are affected by ability strength, but sadly the shields aren't affected by any of the ability modifiers. His second ability is Radial Howl, and that is, well, he screams and it stuns enemies near him, and also causes sentients to shed their built-up resistances, completely resetting them, which nowadays has less of an impact, but still noteworthy. His second ability augment is Radiant Finish, and what that is blinded enemies take 300% more finisher damage. That is affected by ability strength, by the way. I don't personally use this, but I will say it is actually quite fun to use when I have been screwing around with it in the simulacrum. His third ability is Radial Javelin, and, well, what that is he stabs the ground and impales nearby enemies with slash damage. It's not bad, though it definitely has aged, sadly. His third ability augment is Furious Javelin, and that is each enemy hit will increase Excalibur's melee damage by 15% for 16 seconds. Both the damage and the duration are actually impacted by mods. I use this one a lot now, actually. And his fourth ability is his bread and butter. That is, he summons his special sword, that does a pretty good amount of damage, I would say, and it also sends off waves of energy in the direction that you swing, so you don't necessarily have to be right on your enemies to actually hit them with it. And his fourth ability augment is Chromatic Blade, that being the damage type of it changes depending on Excalibur's emissive color, and the status chance is increased by 300%. That status chance is affected by strength mods. This is actually quite good, and I will say it is very helpful if you're going into the higher end content. As for my build, well, you may notice he's quite different since the last time I've talked about him. And that's admittedly part of why I started here. But anyways, I do have Archon Vitality, because that does work with my Chromatic Blade, because I have heat on my sword there. I do have Furious Javelin, because it makes his Chromatic Blade even stronger, as well as it also helps to just use my regular melee weapons if I don't want to be burning through energy. Of course, I have Steel Charge on, because that increases melee damage. I went with Arcane Reaper for survivability because of the fact that, well, I'm mostly going to be doing melee kills anyway. Alright? As for my Archon Shards, I have 3 of them dedicated to the purple ones that increase your melee critical damage, and I also have 2 for ability strength to help out with Javelin and, of course, Pillage, which I have Helmet over as first. Yeah, it kind of sucks that I had to get rid of his Slash Dash, because I will say if I could squeak the third augment on there, I would love to have the melee combo counter. for the shorter missions. But honestly, I'd say he does quite well even without it. As for my Exalted Blade build, I went with melee Korean for my Arcane, because that does freeze enemies as I roll, and I do roll a lot. But also because it does increase your melee damage against said frozen enemies, which is even nicer. I do have a hybrid build of status and critical chance, although it may not look like it at first. I am relying a lot on Blood Rush to get me to those high crits, but it does pretty well, I would say. And as you can see, I'm doing Corrosive Magnetic and Heat, and of course Kareen is adding the cold into the mix. All in all, I'm pretty happy with it. So how does the old man perform for Deviri? Well, I'm at the point where I'd say most frames are pretty acceptable for Deviri, but it also kind of hinges on the weapons you get as well. I will say Excalibur is one of the few that I don't really care what weapons I get, because I actually have a pretty good energy economy going on, so I can usually stay in his chromatic blade if I need to. Granted, even if I actually get good weapons, I'm not mad to see Excalibur, because he is still pretty good and he is a lot of fun to use. Now, another question I want to start asking is, how does he perform for Archimedia? Because I imagine that's probably the hardest thing that most people engage with. I will say for me, it definitely is. I have engaged with level cap. I don't particularly enjoy it, so I don't spend a lot of time there. I think I've only ever gone there like twice. But anyways, I will say Excalibur is one that I'm happy to see there, as long as I don't have a downside that directly stops him, because there are a few that do. I will say most notably for me at least, the energy ones. Those ones tend to screw over most of my frames. But either way, I'm usually happy to see him for the same reason I'm happy to see him in Deviri, that being, as long as I have my energy economy, I don't really have to worry about weapons too much, because I have access to his Exalted Blade. But yeah, so closing thoughts on Excalibur. I will say I love where he's at now. I genuinely enjoy my builds. Granted, one thing that you guys will probably start to realize is that I've been going through and trying to make all of my frames as broken as possible as of late. It's not obvious now, but give it some time and a few more frames and you'll kind of see what I've been doing. But I will say Excalibur's one that I have gone from like, yeah, I touch him every once in a while, to actually he's one I play quite often. Granted, he's still not my favorite by any measure, but I do thoroughly enjoy him now. I love the rework that they've done to Exalted and pseudo-exalted as a whole. I love that we can finally use arcanes and combo mods on the melee ones in particular. But yeah, no, I am very happy with Excalibur these days. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Make sure you get plenty of water, because it's getting warmer out there for a lot of places. And without further ado, have a good one.